Danni and Input cruising through the airwaves. Transformers knowledge blast that never caves. Reviews so sharp they'll cut through steel. In the podcast world, they're the real deal. Jumping in the deep end, swimming with the best. Danni's got the info and she never needs to rest. Input's got the passion like a roaring jet. Together they make a mark you won't forget. Dynamic duo, never gonna quit. Taking over airwaves, super lit. Transformers podcast bringing the heat. Every single episode can't be beat.
Hey, you can't beat us. Welcome to the state of the Transformers fandom. Growing older as a collector is the topic today, as long as we still have North America. Yeah, how you doing, Input?
I'm doing great, Danny. If you guys don't know, that's right. It's me. It's that N-PUT. And baby, if you hate me, you're going to love Danny because that's the way that life goes, Jack.
Totally. Yeah, I know that thing. It's like, yeah, never mind. But yeah, no, it's great. Nice to see everyone in chat. Thanks for coming on. You know, we know there's a lot going on, but thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, we're just
and Oracle's here to put the hammer down on you if you get out of line, because that's how we roll.
We're gonna drop that band hammer on you, suckers.
Yeah, is that what's the Trans Aaron's here too? Nice. I just saw a picture of him and his mom and his brother on Facebook. It was cool.
Sick. Yeah, shout out to Trans Aaron. We covered Trans Aaron as one of the honest toy reviewers. You know, Trans Aaron. Go check out Trans Aaron, honest toy reviewer right there. Definitely. And just like every single week, guys, we beg you, we on our hands and knees, we implore you to leave honest reviewers, honest Transformers commenters, honest toy reviewers, whatever it is, in the description or in the chat, the live chat, and in the comment section every single week. We are on our knees. We are begging you, spread that love all over our faces. But in the comments, see, Danny, you're rubbing off on me, man. You're rubbing off on me.
Yeah, God. Oh, it's up there. So many people. Wow, big turnout right away. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the love.
Leave your thoughts on Toy Fair down below as well.
Yeah, we can always do that too eventually.
So
I know I was thinking of doing a different segment for some new stuff, but we'll see. Yeah, what you want to start it off or let it roll, or what are you thinking?
Well, I was thinking since last couple of weeks that I've been doing so much talking. People messaging me and saying, "Input, shut up. We want the pretty lady to talk." So I'm gonna pass the mic over to you.
Yeah, no. Here we go. Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, that's nice. Thank you again, Input, for always being here and blabbering away. It makes my job easy. But yeah, today we're just talking about, growing older as a collector and what that means. Just in general, I guess, like, downsizing a collection. Like, would you keep buying more and more? And just growing older, do you stay in the love for collecting? Like, I know people in their 60s that are collecting just as much as I do. I don't know how old Ninja Bill is, but I know he's up there. And he's always saying, like, he's in the heart of it. Do you ever lose passion for collecting over time?
I don't think I lose passion for collecting. I think I lose passion for things, right? Like somewhere along the lines, like here in the last within the last like 2 years or so, I've been selling off a lot of stuff where some of you guys who tuned into all of my live streams for the weekly news, Transformer news and stuff like that, if you guys paid close enough attention, you guys would have known that, like, I had prototypes, Transformers prototypes, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, most of that's gone at this point, because I lost I lost the passion of owning it and having, like, 6 or 7 Blitzwings. I've curated all that stuff down to one definitive Blitzwing that I think is the definitive one for me. the one that I like the best, that represents the character the best, stuff like that. And yeah, that's what I've been doing, and that's kind of moving forward what I want out of my collection, whether it be for Transformers, whether it be for, you know, Marvel characters or DC characters or anything along those lines. I want to have the most definitive representation for that character. But the oddball thing is for me is like I want to have the early childhood stuff as well that I remember having and collect
Yeah.
or enjoying as a kid and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I think for me too, the impulsiveness of buying all the new stuff and like who knows how prices will be going, and you know what I mean? It's like when it's just mass. I think like even me, like I love, but I do love still curating like my G1 and G2 and stuff like that. But I have a definitive of each one of those, so you don't get more of those usually, right? So that's good with that collection. And then yeah, like I just like it's a case of like how much hoarding is it versus collecting, and you know like. It's nice to actually have your the collection, and it's not like 15 guys lined up back to back, right?
Yeah. And see, and that's a whole nother issue, right? Is like you brought up the G2 thing, and here in the last couple of years, we've seen everybody do a G2 anything, whether it's like Superion or not. That's a bad example, but like Minosaur, right? If that's your favorite color scheme for Minosaur, you have tons of choices to pick from. So why even like think of looking at like if you bought the Hasbro one and that's your definitive one, you know, you don't need to have, why are you looking at like the DX9 one to get another one or whatever case may be, right? Like, so for me, what's for me, when I see stuff like that, I lose a lot of interest immediately in the figure, especially for modern day Hasbro Transformers. And I know, like I've kind of pigeonholed myself as like, you know, the Hasbro hater or whatever. But this kind of leads into like Toy Fair a little bit too. Like I saw that like Fistatron is just a reuse of the Hound mold, the Siege Hound mold with like a new head. Well, for me, I've already unlocked that puzzle. I've already beaten that game, whatever, right? So I lose a lot of it. I've lost because of the way that Hasbro has been reusing these molds as of late. I've lost a lot of interest in modern day Hasbro's Transformers because it's the same molds from the last, when did Siege come out? 2019. So what, 6 years now? You know? And I get it. Something like Transformers is constant mold reuse and stuff like that. But like there's these things are, like I've said before, these are puzzles. So it automatically just kind of, I've already solved that. I don't care who the character is at this point, you know, move along, you know?
For me too, it's like I do like it. So I do like a lot of some of the Hasbro stuff. Like I said, it's fun to find it in the store, but like as you get older, it's just like the accumulation of so much stuff. And like I got like high end, more like anime figures that like I don't want to ever get rid of those. I have figures in my collection I know like I won't get rid of. They'll be passed on to like my nephew or whoever in the future, right? He can sell them if is not into this stuff or whatever, right? But it's just some things I will never get rid of. And but it's the more the mass stuff, like the mass like just retail stuff that you know, do I need 5 Jazzes under my bed and 4 Galvatrons? They are there. I mean, don't need them. And just like as I'm getting older, like you know, you with last time you said you just had your 40th birthday. I'll be 39 this April, so it's just, you know, a lot more things are changing. I might be moving, you know, so it's just like how much stuff do I want to lug with me, or what do I want to have? And I love collecting, and I love this stuff. It brings me so much joy, but there's just a point of like, what do I really love? And you know, it's just it's a hard decision to make at some point.
Well, you kind of brought up moving, right? And that kind of goes along in life as well, because like if you get, you know, a career, and the career says, like if you live in like say New York or wherever, and they're like, okay, you got to move down, say to Washington or DC or Texas or wherever, right? And you're in New York and you got all this stuff. Do you really want to lug all that around with you, rent out the U-Haul or whatever, drive down to Oklahoma or wherever that your career is going to be at? And if your career is constantly kind of like touch and go, like you're going to live in Oklahoma for 2 or 3 years, and then you're going to move to Kansas, and then you're going to move to, you know, North Carolina or whatever. Like, do you where does your passion kind of outweigh your career, and your career outweigh your passion? You have to find that middle ground, so to speak, because you're not in that like small apartment, you're not in your like parents' house or whatever the case may be anymore, right? Because life takes you everywhere. And the same thing like with kids, like you become a parent, where do you collect, where do you buy versus,
Mm-hmm.
do you buy this Optimus Prime or do you buy the diapers? Do you buy, this whatever, do the Starscream, or do you buy the baby formula and stuff, right? Well, obviously you got to take care of the kid first, right? So and in that regard, a lot of people end up getting out of the hobby, and they end up possibly selling all of their stuff off and everything else. And then when that happens, when you get to a certain spot in your life, do you go back to it?
Yeah, and the thing too about the aging with it is like right now, like you said, this next 10 years, like it's going to be a grind for me. I got to put in the time and effort, and I've taken things up a notch in the last like year or 6 months, and it'll keep going there, especially for the next decade. But I don't know how I'll feel at 50. I know, like I said, like I know people in their 50s that are still like just as crazy about it, and that's great. But I just don't know personally I will feel in another 10 years. Like I'll still want stuff. It's just I could see myself, besides a lot of vintage stuff, letting stuff go, or I don't know. I just don't know like where life will take me at that point. Even if I'm 50 and I still look 40, it's still like, mentally there'll be change, right?
Yeah, and I totally get that, because when I was, like mid-20s and stuff, and I was getting the Reveal the Shield stuff and the early generation stuff, and hunting down, like I was genuinely hunting down like prototypes and all kinds of crazy stuff for Transformers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And here in like the last couple of years, like I said earlier, it was just like all of that, and I had that stuff for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I had people that would find out that I had it, and they would hit me up some way, some form, somehow, a toy show or whatever the case may have been, and asking to buy it. And it was always like, no, I don't, no, I'm never going to get rid of it, never going to sell it, never this, never that. And here, like I said, the last like 2 years, give or take, maybe 2.5, maybe 3,
Mm-hmm.
has been like, okay, yeah, I don't, like you said, I don't care. Like Jazz is one of my favorite Autobots, right? Close connection with Jazz since my childhood. And I think a lot of people will understand, like, if you have that Transformer that you love because of your childhood, it's probably connected to a person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like Jazz and Twin Twist for me is connected to my grandfather. So I love Jazz and I love Twin Twist, but I have the Zeta Jazz, and my childhood Jazz at this point now, and that's it. And that's all I care. That's all I care to own at this point. That's where, because I've gotten older, I feel like, that trying to find all that stuff, hunt all that stuff, get all that stuff, all of that is kind of gone to the wayside, because I do look, towards, I'm 40 now, and it's like, okay, well, in 10 years, I'm 50, right? Like, medically speaking, I don't know what's happening. You know what I'm saying?
I know. And how do you feel? Like, would you really see yourself that? Like I said, I know like Bart's still into it. He's like in it like well beyond his 50s. Like it's like, and he still loves it 100%. So put that's funny, but it's like, yeah. It's just, where do you mentally see yourself when you're like 48, 49, approaching that 50? Can you even fathom that?
Honestly, kind of, now that I'm closer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I was like 20, I was like, dude, I'll never be 50. That's so far away, but like I'm on that road. I'm about to turn that corner. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I can honestly see, like, because my mom and my grandparents, they always kind of collected things
Mm-hmm.
from their era. They always went to like antique stores and
Same.
stuff like that. So I can I do see myself continually to buy certain things that I might like or enjoy, or pick something up like here and there. But I think at a certain point, 55, or something, the way that I feel now, if I'm transplanting my feelings onto like 55-year-old me, there's probably going to be a self conversation where it's like, look, it's probably time to cut your hair. Linkin Park was 40 years ago. Metallica's all dead. They're all dead now. Time to let it go. You know what I mean? I know that's like morbid, but like, but there's probably going to be a conversation where it's just going to be like, all right, dude, like you're out, you're done, and like Soundwave says, I collect based on nostalgia. I'll pass on stuff more easily now than I did just 3 years ago. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. But that is the thing though, like I know, because like I was saying with Bart, like he's well into his 50s, and he's like, he comes over, he's as giddy as a little girl when they drop like some like weird Japanese transformer on Big Bad, not transformer, but just Japanese figure or whatever, like the big robot, giant robots, like the Sentinel stuff. Like he just goes ballistic, like, oh my god, right? So it's like for me to see that enjoyment still from someone, and like he's kind of cherry picking, getting the high end stuff, and he's got the money for it, but it's just like, to see that excitement still, and I guess the age not affect him in that mindset. That's cool, because I guess the toys keep you younger in a way. But like like you're saying, when I'm 55, I don't know how I'm gonna feel, right? And I always base like a lot of shit, like you're saying Metallica, who you look up to. I look up to Eminem as a kid, and like watching his progression, like how he's like 50 something now, and he's trying to still do his thing. And it's just like, I just engage on that, like the people I looked up to and how they're doing it in their 50s. And people are living a lot younger now. Like I know people say like, oh, 40 is the new 30, and people said that before, but it's like people like the perspective is changing, and I think as more the geek culture keeps expanding and stuff, it does change a little bit. It's the stigmas are gone for sure, and like it'll probably just kind of get even loose, like a little bit like looser as we go on, I guess.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and I can definitely see where Bart, where he gets his excitement and everything too, because like, where like I said earlier, I'll look at a Hasbro Transformer and it's like, Fistatron is Hound, Siege Hound again, and I'm like, ugh. Whatever, dude. This is lame, bro. Like, come on. But if like Mafex, like that giddiness, like I saw their Scarecrow, their Hush, the Hush Scarecrow version or whatever. Phrase that however you want. But like, I saw that and I was like, oh my god, that looks incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's like, it's like the Hasbro line. Yeah, they're tanking like with quality, and like you said, there's so many, like every new figures, the one figure like remolded, and it's too many repaints, too many remolds. I know it's been in the line forever, but at this point it's just like the excitement, especially for people living it as long as we have, like close to 40, it's just like it is played out. But that's why like when Bart sees those, like, because they used to have those old versions like of the anime robots, and now they're doing the Sentinel where they're more articulate and they have like their metal, like high grade. It's like it gets you excited because it's like what you love, but just at a higher level of quality, and but you're paying for it there, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like Soundwave says, Soundwave 84 in the live chat says, I'm 85 now. I get more joy now buying wrestling figures of old school 80s and 90s wrestlers than I do with buying Transformers. And
he said he's 85 now. He's 45.
Oh, did I say 85? I'm sorry. It's his name.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Soundwave. I'm sorry, dude.
Soundwave, thanks for showing up. Appreciate it.
Yeah, like, but I totally feel what he's saying, because like when somebody brings something into the toy store for sale or trade or something like that, I do have my moments where I'm just where it's like somebody brought in some Secret Wars stuff from the 80s. And that's always been one of those toy lines where, I've always, like as a kid, I had like a few pieces that I would find at like a garage sale and that kind of stuff. So like I thought they were all cool, but there's always been like this mystique type of thing with it. And they brought in this whole collection, like most of it was boxed and some of it was sealed, and I just had this like this guttural like, oh my god, this is so badass, like just. It was just, it was the same feeling, where I had that feeling again for the first time in a minute. And then I bought the Mafex Batman that I use for the stop motion and everything, you know, like Mafex is a like I said earlier, I want the definitive versions, and Mafex is nailing that for me. But every single time a new Mafex figure comes into the mail or the PO box or whatever, right? I am ecstatic. Like I'm like I will sit in the living room on the floor, you know, not even sitting on a couch, right? Like as soon as I get the box, I just Indian style on the floor, just land on the floor, cut the box open, and I'm posing the figure. I'm like in the case of Batman, like I'm posing the cape, running poses, all kinds of stuff, you know. So like there's still that passion there, which, you know, I hope when I'm 55, you know, I do hope that it's still there, because so much of this stuff is really, really cool, and we're so attached to so much of it story wise, you know what I mean?
Totally. And I see that, like in Bart, I see that, like, okay, I'll be like that. I know I will, because it's like, if he's still like that and I'm the way I am, I'll be like that. And I wanted to say thanks to Soundwave for showing up too, because we mentioned him in our Honest Toy Reviewers. He does a great job. He does buy like Hasbro stuff, but he does give, like, he gives it to him when he needs to, and he likes what he likes. Kind of like how I am. Like, I still like it, but like, you know, I still want to share like what about it, you know. So definitely check him out. I do enjoy, and 52. Yeah, I know. It's like you said. It's just, wow. Yeah, it's just it's nice when you still have that passion, but it's like you said, it has to be something really good, like a high-end Mafex figure or a high-end, like, you know, other style figure. It's just, you know, or maybe even old vintage. Like maybe I'll still be trying to collect like Diaclone on them when it costs $1,000 a figure when I'm 54, right? So
right.
But it makes you sparked up. Oh yeah, I found it, right?
Yeah, like I have most of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon toy line. And I don't mean just like the characters that popped up in the show. I mean like everything, you know, like the oddball side things and everything else. And you know, somebody told me once, and this was like right before COVID hit, I bought the 3-stack Spider Slayer from a local comic book store. And they knew what I was doing. And I told one of the workers there, I said, man, this is the last piece I need. And then it's done. And he was like, well, you better not buy it, because once you finish it, you're not going to go anywhere with the line or whatever. Like it's just going to sit, rot, and you're going to end up selling it, whatever the case may be. And he was speaking from his experience, right? Like he had the original 13 Star Wars from 77 and all that. And he ended up selling it off because he got the last figure and then was, you know, done with it. He's like, well, what do I do with it now? Like, I look at all those Spider-Man figures and it's still, you know, there's still like, you know, like 8-year-old me is, you know, in there. Like every now and then I'll grab 6-armed Spider-Man and spin his legs and watch his arms rotate and stuff, you know.
Like look at it. Like I wonder if you can see it in this picture. This is an old picture of me, way back in the day. Player, look at this.
Yo, dude, Empire State Building, yeah, dude.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. The passion's always there. Look at that long hair I had. There's something going on with me. No one knew it, but it's just like that stuff too, man. I sold all my stuff as a kid, but I re-got it from people, and I have buckets full of it. And that stuff, even though I got it in a bucket, I don't want to get rid of it because it just brings me so much joy, because it was like that was the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, and there's connections to so much of this stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't have, but later on in life, I was able to get like some of the smaller like G2 jets, like Air Raid is like a stealth bomber and stuff, you know, like that style, or like the Machine Wars jets and stuff like that. I still, you know, I ended up, like I said, sold a bunch of, if not 90% of it, but those I kept, and I didn't have them as a kid, but as a kid I would see them on the back of the cards and think like, man, these are so cool. Like the, you know, like all the ball joints and the transformation schemes and all that stuff. So I still have those because I had that like, I guess, like passion for them, you know, when I was a kid. And as an adult, I was able to get a good amount of them. But yeah, like that stuff will most likely never go anywhere because it is connected to my childhood in that regard, right? So
yeah. Yeah, like I said, that line has a deep connection. That's Spider-Man stuff from back in the day, and I grow older too. Sorry, I was gonna keep that up, but I just, it means a lot, and that still hasn't changed. I know it's the nostalgia part of it too, but it's cool. It's made pretty, like, compared to like what you see them hanging on the rack now for a kid for like the $12 in Canada, $14.99 price tag of like those really like dumbed down Spider-Man figures. Like what we had was like, the pinnacle of like that at that price point, especially in the 90s.
yeah, no, absolutely. And when you take into like certain cost factors, like you got like inflation and whatever else, over the last like 25 years or so, like something like that, it kind of really starts to put things into a certain light, into a certain perspective. Like I've said multiple times on my live streams that like I miss toy gimmicks. I genuinely miss toy gimmicks. And because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, what am I doing with this? I pose it, put it on the shelf. I might take it down 6 months, a month, or whatever, pose it again, put it on the shelf. But like for toys, and this goes for Transformers or old, comic book toys, anything like that, right? Like the gimmicks really sold a figure, like because it was something to do with that figure besides just, Batman fights the Joker today or whatever the case was that you were going to do, right? Like you would buy like a Joker figure that had like a rocket firing slime or something, and it would be like, yo, okay, yeah, now he can definitely be Batman or whatever, right? Like it opened up an entire world of imagination for kids and stuff, and that's what I miss from modern day toys, like the imagination building, I guess you might say. It's so lacking nowadays because of it.
Yeah, and it's my opinion too is like some gimmicks are really done well, some aren't. You know what I mean? Like some are done way better, especially when they're really built in and concealed more, or like just like like a thing that add on that the character held or this and that, and you still had the figure by itself, like not like inhibited by the the gimmick. But like even some of those full gimmick toys are cool too, right? It just depends. There's like a good hit or miss, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then like Blue Raccoon says, there are some gimmicks that basically work, and he says Blue Raccoon says in live chat, all due respect input, but gimmicks make some sales, but problem is they don't apply well. The thing is like a gimmick has to be applied well, right? Like, and there are toys where the gimmick is terrible. Like we've seen modern day like Cyberverse Transformers where it's just like some kind of armor flipping action and stuff, and it's like, okay, but how does that correlate to the character or what you see in the show or what you see in any of that stuff, right? Like it kind of doesn't. But like a good gimmick would be like take any missile firing action, period, right? Like Biker Mice from Mars, Vinny's red motorcycle could kind of the top of it could flip open and there was a missile launcher in there, right? So like that's a good gimmick because it hides in the motorcycle. You see it in the cartoon, stuff like that, right? It kind of gives you that imagination. It kind of gives you like that branch of an imagination to kind of branch a piece of imagination, excuse me, to branch off with into other things, right? Like or Hydro Man from the Spider-Man line squirted water from his fist. A little pump thing on his back, squirted water. That's great because it's gimmicky. It's Hydro Man. He's supposed to shoot water and turn into water and do all this other stuff, right? So that works phenomenal as a gimmick. You wouldn't do that with like Sandman. Sandman should never shoot water, right? So it kind of depends on really how the gimmick is implemented. And there are terrible gimmicks, 100% terrible gimmicks.
There is, but yeah, I don't know. What else to say on the like growing old part? Is there
Well,
much
I
else
think
you want to
I,
touch on?
I think at the end of the day, so the interesting thing about growing old and collecting, right? We get to a spot where, say, we're in our early 20s, our late teens, stuff like that, and then we're just buying stuff, right? Because we got the money. Oh, this Transformer's $10, or oh, that that diecast car is $5, or whatever the case it is, and then life starts hitting us. Like I mentioned, career and kids and all that stuff. Well, what ends up backing us out is that our career, our kids, our life, all this stuff starts hitting us. And then we kind of come back around. Our kids are in high school. They're making their own money. They're 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever it is. And now the money that we're spending on them, we can spend back on ourselves. So then it kind of becomes this loop. But at a certain point, we end up getting kicked out of the game again because of medical cost. Colonoscopy ain't free. A CAT scan isn't free. Dentist appointment isn't free, right? So so like that kind of puts another speed bump into it and everything, right? So it's basically all a bit of like a circle. What happens, like a circle of life, right? And at the end of the day, I think that if there's something that you see, and this is from me watching my grandmother and my mom, we're talking like generational differences here, where grandmother collected jewelry, you know what I mean, like and lamps and whatever. Mom collects Raggedy Ann dolls, like, but watching them as a kid, mom, when I was a kid, she was mid 30s or early 30s to 40s and stuff. Watching her just oh my god, new Raggedy Ann doll at the antique mall that she found or whatever, and she would just buy it, right? Like if there's something that you really really see and you really want it, then there's no harm in getting it, right? There's no harm in collecting for your entire life. But there becomes a harm in the collecting when it starts to harm your life. Right.
Especially if you have more responsibilities, like me and you, like we got like partners and this and that, but we don't got kids, I mean, but we got bills and you got your stuff, like you said, medical stuff and different things, different places. But if it starts to impede on that and it's like overwhelming, I could see how it's just, you got to look at it like, okay, is this beneficial? I know it makes me happy, but I got to take care of this stuff first, and you might have to put some of it aside for a while or sell some stuff off. I mean, it's a little sad, but
yeah, no, absolutely. And here's the thing: if you get rid of it and you don't miss it, right, then what it really, like the old cliche, right? Then it's let it go. If it comes back, then it's meant to be, right? Like I say that because all the stuff that I've gotten rid of, I don't miss any of it. I really don't at all. I've kept things that friends have given me and sent me because that's meaningful to me.
I had to get rid of some stuff people sent me over the years, though, because like people were sending me like multiple N64s, and it was just like at this point I was like, fuck, I don't even know who gave me this. I was like, I need to sell this. No offense. I mean, it was a nice gesture, but at that point, you don't need 6 N64s in a closet and blah, blah, blah. The gaming stuff was so easy for me to get rid of. Some of these toys, I have regrets of selling some stuff that, I wish I didn't, but and it's not the same getting it back because you got it from something special, but, everyone goes through times in their life where, you make those choices, but you move on, we grow older. And like I said, seeing older people still enjoy it as much as like kind of like new people enjoy it and it still brings you that joy and you're doing it responsible, then like it's still fun, right? As long as it's still fun and it's not like holding you back. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that should be the takeaway here is as long as it doesn't harm you or your life or anything like that in any form or fashion, and it remains fun and you still have that passion for it, then you should definitely keep going after it. I think a lot of people start falling into a like it's a cool, quote unquote, it's the cool thing to do or whatever, right? So and people end up getting like pushed into it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the case of some of these companies, you know, that collect them all mentality has definitely grown with us from childhood into adulthood.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time. You know, people will, you know, Superion's my favorite character, or my favorite combiner. I have to have all the Superions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. Like, you know, you know, if you feel like, you know, Superion's your concession to all of that, right? But like, don't start believing that you need Minosaur because he's the, you know, he's the antithesis to Superion, right? Like, he's the villain to Superion. You have to have Minosaur, but now you need all the Minosaurs. If you're not that big of a fan of Minosaur, maybe you don't need all the Minosaurs, right? Like,
It's true.
But I don't know what else to add to this except for to say this loudly and proudly at the top of my lungs, but not as loud as that. Power Rangers is terrible.
Yeah, Power Rangers could suck it. You know, I got like stuff over there. The robots are cool, but nah, bruh. God.
But guys, at the beginning of the show, I did ask you to put honest reviewers and honest commenters in the live chat and in the comment section if you are listening to this afterwards.
Yeah, there
keep
you go,
doing it, man. Do it every single week. Soundwave 8084 says Soundwave is my favorite character. He says in live chat, Soundwave is my favorite character, and I don't own everyone made. Don't need them all, just the ones that scratch that nostalgic itch. And there it is, right there. He put it a lot better than I did.
Yeah, you never should have bought that Super 7 Ultimate one Soundwave. But yeah, no, yeah, like just take it as it is. Like, you know, enjoy it. Don't let it take over you. And yeah, grow old and just be happy doing it, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. That's 100% it.
And yeah, we'll see you next week, I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna next week. You guys want to know what the topic is next week? Well, it's a surprise. Why is it a surprise? Because you got to tune in to find out, Jack. That's why it's a surprise.
Yeah,
but
and a few people were asking me too about that toy fair thing. But I mean, I don't know if we'd have time to do one of those this week or not. But
yeah, I think we could probably do one, huh?
Okay, yeah, I can let you know. We'll talk about it after. But yeah, maybe we'll just do a quick one. Hey. You want to hear our thoughts on to rip the toys apart on the toy fair? Let us know.
Let's do it. Let's tear into them. Okay. Okay. I'll say this. My initial thoughts on Toy Fair. Some really interesting stuff. Some pretty good reveals. A lot of WTF stinkers in there as well.
Yeah, I think it would be worth going over. Like if I could clip some of the pictures and we could do it, could be worth going over.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, you can definitely do it.
All right. Yeah, you say the last words and I'll get us out of here.
All right. Well, it's me. It's that N-PUT, and you've been hanging out with me and Danny Double D. And up next week is a surprise secret episode starring me and Double D Danny. Like, who'd you expect? Like, what did you expect me to say? Like Chelsea Green.
Thank you for joining us. It has been a pleasure. However, we must now conclude the program. We appreciate your viewership and apologize should we have inadvertently disrupted your evening. Please do not take any offense. We look forward to presenting another engaging topic next week, and we extend our gratitude for your continued support.